fulfills its purpose. Okay, so let's get started. We're going to talk about some interviews, and I'm going to need some help reading a few things in here. So I'm going to give you a sneak peek of the interviews. Um, the One of the goals for today is for you to have some vocabulary exposure. So these are going to be some readings and they're going to have maybe more complicated words. So hopefully you're going to be able to learn a few expressions or words that are going to help um we're going to yeah, nurture your vocabulary. You're going to be able to have maybe more interesting ways of saying things. But also in the grammar aspect of it, we will see that we're going to start comparing simple and continuous verbs in side by side. So I'm not talking about just simple present or past, um, simple past or simple future. We're going to talk about uh, simple and continuous tenses in general. So talking about all of them, present, past, future, and the perfect tenses as well. Present perfect, past perfect, and future perfect. So I have a couple of interviews that we have here, um, and I would like to share them with you. So we have different subjects. We have Melissa. We have okay. So this is sorry, the same. And okay, so we have an interview that is split in three parts. Let's read the introduction first. So this is the very first thing that I'm going to read, and I want you to just pay attention, and then I'm going to ask for help in the next three slides. So this is an interview from the English department. So you should really get to know Melissa Cortez, a graduate student in our English department. Also, a talented artist, she spends her free time painting, and she started a sculpture class last month. She hopes one day to have an exhibition of her art. So notice that we are talking about the English department, but she is not only an English instructor or part of the English department staff, she's also sharing some of her talents that are not related to the English department, right? So she spends her free time painting and she's starting a sculpture class last month. So this is an interview. An interview basically is questions and answers, right? So that's the basic. So an interview is not a monologue. So in an interview, I'm not the only one speaking. I probably I'm probably having a conversation with somebody, but the main thing about an interview is that there are some questions and there are some answers. So for example, here we have a set of questions, um, three questions on every slide. I have three questions here. I have three questions here that are different, and I have another three questions in here. Okay, so we have a total of 9 questions as part of this interview, and I'm gonna ask for your help to read the three slides. So I'm gonna start with slide number 1, so we can get to know Melissa a little bit better. And I would like to hear or have somebody volunteering. So who would like to help me voluntarily reading this? Any hands up? Who would like to read? Okay, very good. Liz. So Liz, we're going to do a little interactive kind of activity. I'm going to be asking the questions and you're going to respond like if you were Melissa. Okay. So this is Melissa answering. How long have you been living here?
I've been living in Guatemala City for 5 years. I came here to go to school originally. It is a great place to live.
Have you ever lived in another country?
No, I haven't, but my brother has. He's living in Bogota, Colombia, for almost a year now. I am going to visit him later this year.
What kind of music are you listening to currently?
Well, of course, I love Latin music. I'm listening a lot of Latin jazz right now. I like to listen to music when I paint.
Perfect. Thank you very much. I just want to make a little correction here because there is a misspelled word. So the word great is missing an E there. Great. And not missing, but it's misplaced. So it's great. So thank you for reading it correctly. So we
You.
have, you're welcome. So we have a point of view here, or an opinion on the experience of Melissa, right? So these are questions that are based on Melissa's life. How long have you been living here? Have you ever lived in another country? What kind of music are you listening to currently? So these are questions based on Melissa's life. And this is, of course, something that we can apply to our real life. But before I get ahead of myself, let's go ahead and finish um, understanding more about Melissa. So I have Liz. Thank you very much, Liz, for participating. Who would like to participate on the second slide? We'll need another person to help me reading. Okay, Oscar, great. So same kind of dynamic. I'm going to be asking you the question and you're going to repeat the questions or answer the questions as if you were the person being interviewed. So what is the nicest thing anyone has ever done for you?
Actually, about 6 months ago, I was complaining to my dad that I didn't know how to drive. So he paid for some driving lessons. I was trying.
Okay, very good. Let's go with number two. Who or what is the greatest love of your life?
Oh, chocolate. I can't throw the day without some.
Perfect. What were you doing at this time what were you doing at this time yesterday?
I was sitting on a bus. We were stuck in traffic for 1 hour.
Okay, perfect. So these are different questions about different aspects of the life of Melissa, right? In this case, the first question is thinking about the past. What is the nicest thing anyone has ever done for you? And she's providing an example. Then a little bit of the likes and dislikes. In this case, of course, is who or what is the greatest love of your life? I mean, she answered chocolate, but she could have answered, "Oh, I love my grandma," or "I'm in love with, I don't know, my husband," or talk about her cat or her dog. So it's a very open question, and it depends, of course, how's your sentimental life doing, the way that you answer this, or how private it is. And the last one is a question about routine. So what were you doing at this time yesterday? And we have a perspective from the life for the life of Melissa. Let's see here. Let's go to another one. Let's go with another volunteer. Who would like to help me reading this time? This is going to be the very last slide. So I had Liz and I had Oscar. Anybody else would like to help me reading? To say that. Great. So same dynamic. I'm going to be reading the question and you read the answer. So what's your favorite way of spending an evening? What do you do?
I like to go out with my friends. We go and eat someplace and go dancing at night.
When did you last buy yourself a treat?
Last week, Actually, I was at a friend's art studio and I fell in love with one of her paintings, so I bought it.
What did you do for your last birthday?
I went home and had a big party with my family.
Perfect. Perfect. So that's a different perspective. If you pay attention here, we're talking about more of her uh, experience in a daily evening. So what's your favorite way of spending an evening? What do you do? And she answers, going out with our friends. The word treat, you can go to the dictionary and look for the definition. The word treat is very wide. So you can translate treat as a candy, treat as a present, treat you can translate it as a yeah, as a present, as a gift, as a prize for something. So basically in this context, when did you last buy yourself a treat? Is like when did you bought something for yourself? When did you rewarded yourself with something? When did you buy something that was nice for you and that you enjoyed? Like just a gift from you to you, right? So that's pretty much the word treat. It depends on the context. Again, if you go to the dictionary, you may find multiple meanings, but in general, this is the idea of this context. So you can answer differently, right? So when did you last buy yourself a treat? Maybe you're a fan of um Star Wars movies, right? And you saw that somebody was selling a Star Wars movie figure, like a little small figure, and you decided that you wanted to buy it to add it to your collection. So that's a gift from yourself to yourself. That's one example. And of course, what do you do for your last birthday? That's going into the past and thinking about that. So if you realize she is mixing a lot of tenses when she's answering. So for example, if we pay attention, here we have some simple present answers, right? I like to go out with my friends. We go and eat someplace and then go dancing all night. So this is a simple sentence, simple present sentence, right? So if we go here to the second part, we see that she's using a little of the simple past. I was at a friend's studio. I fell in love with one of her paintings. I bought it. Simple past. Um, Here, simple past again. I went home and had a big party with my family. Uh, Here. What is the nicest thing anyone has ever done for you? I was complaining, so this is past continuous. I was complaining to my dad. I didn't know how to drive. Past simple. So it's a mix of both. So he paid for some driving lessons. I was thrilled. Um, Here, I was sitting on a bus. We were stuck in traffic for 1 hour. So this is just my point is that when you're in an interview, you're constantly changing tenses. You're mixing things. You sometimes use simple present, sometimes you use present progressive, sometimes you use simple past, sometimes you use past progressive, sometimes you use present perfect. So it depends on the flow of the conversation, but you end up mixing a lot of things. Now, the biggest challenge here is to know how to mix those things correctly. For example, if I give you this, right? I'm giving you a couple of questions, and of course they are in the context of a sentence. They both might sound correct, but there is just one that is actually correct. So you're going to help me based on your knowledge, uh, and you're going to help me choose the best option to complete the sentence or the question in this case. So what book do you read currently? Or what book are you reading currently? So you see both sentences, if you translate it to Spanish, they might make sense. But in this case, we want to be very precise. We want to be accurate, not just barely make sense. We want to be correct. So I want you to do your best by choosing the best answer. What did you do for your birthday last night? What were you doing for your last birthday? Sorry, not. So what did you do for your last birthday, or what were you doing for your last birthday? Again, both may sound correct. There's just one that is perfect. Have you ever been living in the United States? Have you ever lived in the United States? So it's quite a challenge now that we have a lot of things at take in consideration. So I want to give you the opportunity to choose, and under 3 minutes, of course, do this exercise. If you think that you need to maybe do a little research on the internet, you have plenty of time. You have 3 minutes. But if not, just go ahead and click on the one that you feel is right and click on the word next. I'm going to send the answer back to you so you can, of course, have some feedback if you got it right or if you got it wrong. We have a few seconds left. Okay, so I think most of you already completed the activity, so I'm gonna go ahead and start sending you the answer. So it's a mix. I think that it was a 50-50. I see that the class got like 50% of the answers correct and 50% of the answers incorrect. Why is that? Well, because if you translate some of these expressions, if you're constantly translating in your brain, you will probably be confused because some of these work very well in Spanish. So what book do you read currently? And what book are you reading currently? In Spanish, again, in Spanish, they both might work. We don't think that there's one that is better than the other one. Now, in English, there's one that is perfect, and which is letter B. What book are you reading currently? Let me answer some questions. Go ahead, Oscar.
I am confused because suppose when it's a question, we need to use a do or what is the other one?
Yes.
Where and did and do. That's
That's what,
why I think I confused.
yeah, and you can use did or do, but depending on the verb, right? So, for example, in the first one, what book do you read currently? That sentence grammatically might be correct. So that is a correct sentence. Uh, but if you think of the context of the entire sentence, this might not be entirely correct. The second one is possible because it's a question in present progressive. Present progressive doesn't use do or did. Usa verb be, ¿verdad? Presente progresivo. Decimos, por ejemplo, I am studying Spanish. Entonces uso am y studying, ¿verdad? En este caso, ese es el present progressive. Esa es la característica de present progressive. So we can have questions of present progressive, and this is a question of present progressive. That's the main difference. Esta es una pregunta de present progressive. Por eso no lleva ni do ni did. Ahora,
Yeah,
si es
because
una,
I'm
if it's
confused
like,
because sorry, because suppose I need to put are you reading if is if the question are what books,
mhm,
suppose in plural, but it's only book is it's no plural. That's
mm,
why I use do you read
I see, I see,
currently?
I see. Okay, so let me ask you this question. Who is the subject of the sentence? Who is making the action? Who is reading? Is the book reading or are you reading?
Person.
Exactly. So that's how you have to think about it. Because if you're confused about who the subject is, then think about, okay, who's making the action? In this case, who's making the action? You are making the action, right? So in this case,
Okay.
the verb be is are, right? Because you are making the action, not the book.
Okay.
Hmm?
Thank you.
No problem. So good question. Thank you very much for catching that. And I think it can be confusing, yes, because if you think, okay, book as the subject, then are is impossible, right? So this is a mistake. But in this case, the subject or the person who is making the action is not the book, right? Or the thing is making the action is not the book, is you. So if I think what is the right verb, well, are is the right verb because I'm talking about you. So that's the one way of seeing it. And I'm glad that we are like thinking about all the options that we have. So that's for number one. For number two, what did you do for your last birthday? So we have two options, and some of you went for the option B. What were you doing for your last birthday? What did you do for your last birthday? I know that we don't have too much context. Sometimes when you have the whole paragraph, you might understand things a little bit better. But right now, we only have one sentence or one question. So it's going to be harder to know what is the best option. But I'm gonna give you a couple of clues to try to understand that part. So here, let's agree that the sentence is simple past. What did you do for your last birthday? Number three, have you ever been living in the United States or have you ever lived in the United States? So we have two possible options, right? Have you ever been living in the United States? And I see some of you got that answer, uh, but is the incorrect one. Have you ever lived in the United States? So that's exactly the goal of this lesson, the first lesson, to try to understand when do I use a simple tense like this, and when do I use a continuous tense like this? Porque si se dan cuenta, if you realize, basically we were matching those things up. So one option was a simple tense and the other one was a continuous tense. Remember that the continuous tense normally has the ing verb, right? That's why it's called continuous, right? So you had one option with a simple tense and one option with a continuous tense. One option with a continuous tense, one option with a simple tense. And that is confusing sometimes. It's confusing to know, for example, I live in Paris. I'm living in Paris. So I have two sentences, and they both have two different tenses. The first one is the simple present. It's a simple tense. And the second one is a continuous tense. It's a present continuous tense. In Spanish, normally, when you read this, they both have the same meaning, right? So if I translate this into Spanish, I live in Paris and I'm living in Paris, sometimes we understand this as the same thing. But in English, they are communicating two different things. So that's what we're trying to approach today. We're trying to discover how these small differences are, in fact, big differences in meaning. And that is the reason why we have to be very careful in how we use the sentences and how we use the correct tenses for the context. So this is just the initial exercise. Just wanted to give you a little test or give you maybe a little trial of how complicated it can be if you don't know what you're doing, if you don't know what considerations to make. It can be difficult. Sometimes it feels like you're guessing, right? Oh, I'm gonna guess that this is the right one, but I'm not sure. So this week, what we want to do is to give you some tools for you to know, okay, what is the right form and what do I choose if I have these options? So it's going to be a big topic, of course. It's not necessarily small because we're combining a lot of things. Today we're talking about simple present, simple present, simple past, simple future. But we are also talking about present continuous, past continuous, future continuous. So we're combining a lot of things into one topic, which is simple tenses versus continuous tenses. And they have some similarities, but again, it's a big topic. So uh, we can go ahead and maybe start the discussion from there. So let's touch base in the grammar differences. Okay, so I'm gonna ask you to maybe refresh your memory with me a little bit on what are some of the main differences between the simple forms. Cuando digo simple forms, son las que no usan ing, okay? So, for example, I play soccer. I studied uh, Japanese. I will uh, graduate someday. So if you read my sentences, one is in simple present, the other is in simple past, and the other is in future. These are just examples, but they are not adding the word ing. Okay, notice I am playing soccer because um that will be a continuous tense. So here I have I am playing soccer. I was studying Japanese. I will be graduating someday. So here on the right, I have simple sentences. Sorry, on the left, my left, I have simple tenses. And here I have continuous tenses. They have verb be, ing, verb be, ing, verb be, ing. Remember that is the clearest sign that this is a continuous tense. And of course, on the contrary, the simple forms, they do not have any ing. Okay, that's the general rule, if you want to call it that way. Let's see here. Okay, I think we covered everything. So simple forms in general, simple forms of verbs is used, or a simple form is used to describe events and situations that are completed, factual, permanent, or repeated. So here is the form. This is the form or the structure. So the structure, right? The structure of simple forms and continuous forms. Now, the use of the tenses, the use here is, I think, what is even more important. Sometimes we focus on the form or the structure, but we don't know how to use them or why to use them. So that is complicated. It is dangerous because if we do not know how to use them, we're going to be guessing, estar adivinando, and we don't want that. So in general, esto no quiere decir que no hayan excepciones, okay? So it's in general. In general, the simple form of the verb is used to describe events and situations that are completed, factual. That means that you have fact, permanent situations, or repeated actions, okay? So let me give you some examples of questions and answers that are in the simple form. Okay, for example, what kind of music do you listen to? I love Latin music. I listen to it a lot. So this is a question in a simple form, in simple present, and the answer, of course, is in that is leaning towards that side. I love Latin music. I listen to it a lot. An example with present perfect. Have you ever lived in another country? No, I've never lived anywhere else. Or the simple past example. What did you do for your last birthday? I went home and had a big party. What did you do for your last birthday? So if you see, all of these forms and structures are are on the simple side of the forms, okay? And these are completed, factual, permanent, or repeated. What kind of music do you listen to? Here, I'm not asking you anything new. I'm asking you what are the types of rhythms or artists of type of music that you repeatedly listen to. What is your routine, or what is your most listened music? So we can say that this is about a repeated action, right? So it's a repeated action. What kind of music do you listen to? Have you ever lived in another country? So this is a permanent situation. Have you ever lived in another country? Vivir es una situación bastante permanente, ¿verdad? No es lo mismo que a veces tal vez estudiar. So if I study, I'm just here for a second, right? Or for a moment. But live in a place is something a bit more permanent. So have you ever lived in another country? I have never lived anywhere else. So it could be a permanent situation or a completed situation. So in my entire life, this thing has never happened, right? I know I have never lived anywhere else. What did you do for your last birthday? This is a completed action. Why? Because my birthday is over. That's in the past. I finished that. So the question is about the past, the completed past. What did you do for your last birthday? I went home and had a big party. So if you pay attention, the verbs are in simple past because we're talking about completed actions. So this is our review, right? Because these are some of the things that we have talked before. When we studied simple past, that was one of the characteristics that we repeated, right? So if it's an action that is completed, then it is simple past, right? For example, I ate pizza last night. That means that I finished that action. I completed that action. It's not relevant for today. I'm not eating pizza still, right? I finished the pizza. That action is finished. So that's how we recognize that we need a simple form. Okay. So in the text, when she was asked about these things, right? For example, what did you do for your last birthday? Is not repeated. Sorry, it was not a continuous action because your birthday is over. So I'm not asking about a continuous action. I'm asking about what activities did you do and finish for your birthday? I went home and I had a big party, but that big party is over. Is not in a continuous development right now. So that's for the simple form. Okay, let's go and talk about uh, the continuous forms. Okay, so I'm going to erase this here in the middle. I'm going to leave my examples in here, but here is the use. Okay, how do I know when it is applicable? ¿Cómo sé que aplica a mi situación? Okay, well, let's go ahead and read together. The continuous form of verbs is generally used to describe events and situations that are in progress or temporary. Okay, and this is very important here because this word temporary makes a lot of difference in the way that you talk. So simple forms, they express things that are more permanent, completed actions, routines, repeated actions, and the continuous forms are normally used to talk about things that are in progress or that were in progress in the past and things that are temporary. So I'm going to go back to my initial example. I was saying that this sentence is very similar in English. For example, I live in Paris. And I'm living in Paris. So I have two sentences that if I translate to Spanish, they sound pretty much the same, but in English, they explain totally different things. Here, we have a simple form. Therefore, we have a sentence that is expressing something that is more permanent, maybe an action that is repeated or a factual information, factual sentence. Here, I have a sentence that is in a continuous form. I'm living in Paris. Therefore, it's talking about something that is in progress or that is, especially in this case, temporary. Okay? So these two sentences are very different in English. Cuando alguien me dice, I live in Paris, well, I understand that that is his permanent country. That's where he's living permanently, right? I know he's from France then because he lives in Paris. It's a permanent situation. But if somebody comes and tells me I'm living in Paris, then what that person is expressing is that Paris is a temporary place where he's living. It's not a permanent place, it's a temporary place. And how do I know that? Well, I know it because the continuous forms are used to express that. Entonces tenemos que tener cuidado cuando alguien nos dice, ¿dónde vives? ¿Dónde vives? Where do you live? Y dices, I am living in Guatemala. I live in Guatemala and I'm living in Guatemala are totally different things. I live in Guatemala means that this is your permanent country of residence, and I'm living in Guatemala sounds like you're here just temporarily. Maybe because of work, maybe you are living here just for a few months while your project is lasting, or you're here because you're studying, so you're just finishing your course and then you're going back to your normal life back into your permanent country of residence. So it is different If I say I live in Guatemala, is because this is my permanent residency, right? And if I say I am living in Guatemala, is because I'm just here for for some time, but it's not a permanent thing. No, so that's a problem of not using the tenses correctly. If I use one or the other and I just mix them or guess without not knowing what is the purpose of the reason behind, I'm going to be expressing things that are not necessarily true, or I'm going to be confusing people. Okay, so that is the general idea. So let's see more examples in case my example was not entirely clear. Let's see some examples with present continuous, present perfect continuous, and past continuous. So what kind of music are you listening to? Sorry, what kind of music are you listening to currently? This is the biggest difference in the sentence. When we hear the word currently is right now, in this moment of your life, or in this moment while we are speaking. What kind of music are you listening to currently? So this is different. This is something that is in progress right now or in this period of time. Okay. I'm listening to a lot of Jatting Glass right now. If you pay attention, the question is in a continuous form. The answer is in a continuous form as well. Okay. So basically the question gives you the idea of what kind of answer you're going to bring back. Present perfect continuous. How long have you been living here? ¿Cuánto tiempo has estado viviendo aquí? I've been living here for 5 years. So in this case, it's a present perfect sentence. ¿Se acuerdan que el present perfect lo que hace es que conecta el pasado con el presente, ¿verdad? Una actividad que empezó en el pasado, pero que todavía está en progreso en el presente. ¿Ok? Esto es una extensión de eso con el continuo. How long have you been living here? ¿Por cuánto tiempo ha estado esta actividad en progreso en tu vida? Oh, I've been living here for 5 years. So that's one example of how we can use this present perfect continuous in a real life conversation. So here, I've been living here, so this activity has been in progress for 5 years. What were you doing at this time yesterday? ¿Qué estabas haciendo a esta hora ayer? ¿Qué actividad estaba en progreso a esta hora ayer? Okay, I was sitting on a bus. Yo estaba sentada en un bus. That's what I was doing. So this is another good example of how the simple forms and the continuous forms connect, and that's something that I wanted to refresh your memory with. I know it's not that simple. I know that we might still make some mistakes, but these are like the initial thoughts about that part. And I have a couple of things that I want to add to these lessons, which I think are important. Sometimes we do not study these things in elementary or intermediate because they might sound a little confusing, but I want to give you a couple of additional clues for that. Let me erase my notes here and just touch base on the last slide that I have for you. This is the last slide for you. And some verbs, for example, know, like, love, and understand, are not normally used in the continuous forms. Okay, so I don't know if you have realized about that, but there are no sentences with the word know, like, love, or understanding. Oh, understand, sorry. There are no normal sentence, I'm going to call it, because there are going to be some exceptions, but there are not normal sentences using these verbs in a continuous form. For example, do you know him? Do you know him? That's a common question. But I'm pretty sure that you have never heard somebody say, are you knowing him? Estamos acostumbrados a que podemos convertir las oraciones de presente simple a presente continuo, ¿verdad? Solo con agregarle el verb be y el ing. Pero tal vez no habíamos notado que hay verbos con los que no se puede. Y el verbo know es uno de esos, ¿verdad? El verbo know es un verbo que se puede usar en presente simple, pero o en un tiempo simple, por ejemplo, eh, el pasado simple, el futuro simple, el presente perfecto, se puede usar, pero no podemos usarlo en un presente continuo o en un pasado continuo. Por ejemplo, are you knowing him? Aunque yo lo quiera estirar y quiera traducirlo al español, en inglés esto no existe, no tiene sentido. Are you knowing him? Estás conociéndolo. Nosotros que hablamos español medio raro, tal vez esta oración sí tiene sentido. Eh, por ejemplo, decir I love you y decir I'm loving you. I'm loving you no es una oración que uno normalmente va a encontrar en ningún lado, ¿verdad? I love you sí. Y de todas formas, en pasado, presente, futuro, etc. Pero presente continuo, a menos de que sea un slang o una frase coloquial, ¿verdad? Como por ejemplo, el eslogan de McDonald's es una frase coloquial, ¿verdad? No es gramaticalmente correcto. El eslogan de McDonald's en inglés, ¿verdad? El eslogan de McDonald's en inglés es loving I'm loving it. Noten que es una descomposición del lenguaje, ¿verdad? Hicieron un como slang aquí y incluso le cortaron la G, ¿verdad? En I'm loving it. Eso es una variación del lenguaje que no estaría en los diccionarios, obviamente, ¿verdad? Es como las compañías que se valen de alguna forma del lenguaje como bastante coloquial o baja para para sus eslogans, ¿verdad? Es como que, por ejemplo, una empresa aquí en Guatemala es una empresa de buses, ¿verdad? ¿Y cómo se llama la empresa de buses? Vamos mucha, por ejemplo, ¿verdad? That's an expression that is not in English, that cannot be translated into English. And even if you look for it in the dictionary, that's not part of the dictionary. It's just a very informal way of saying some things. And it's like a decomposition of the language in some ways. But the point is that the word love, just as you use the word no, this it is not part of the official language. This uh the same with the word understand or like. And this comes because of something that we call dative verbs and dynamic verbs. ¿Habrá alguien aquí que haya oído alguna vez en su vida el tema dative verbs and dynamic verbs? ¿Algún curso, algún video? Does anybody know anything about stative verbs or dynamic verbs? Lo que sea, aunque sea una palabra. Y si no saben, no hay problema. Vamos a ver. Bien, muy bien. Voy a compartir con ustedes un material que tal vez les pueda servir. Ok. Voy a compartir mi pantalla por un segundo solo para explicarles un poco de qué se trata esto, ¿ok? Porque si nadie nunca lo ha visto, mejor. Así lo aprendemos bien desde el principio y no nos confunde. So this is a PDF file that I can share with you. Of course, it's available on the internet for free for everybody, but I just wanted to make sure that you have the opportunity to understand this part of English as well. So we have something that is called stative verbs and dynamic verbs, okay? So here is a little introduction that is going to give you an idea of, like a general idea of what these two divisions of verbs are. So some verbs are only or mostly used in simple tenses, which is what I was just talking about a moment ago, and are not used in continuous tenses. An example of a simple tense is the simple present, right? Or the present simple, or the past simple. An example of a continuous tense is a present continuous or past continuous. These verbs are called stative or state verbs. So you're going to find them on the internet as stative verbs or state verbs. The translation for Spanish, I'm not entirely sure if we agree on this translation, but they are called verbos de estado. You might find some information about that on the internet as well, or maybe a video. So a verb which isn't stative is called a dynamic verb, and it is usually an action. Everything is in action. So I think this definition is a little short, but it involves movement. So if you call, for example, if you have the verb run, right? The verb run involves like the movement of your body. But the word no is an action, but doesn't really involves movement. That's why it's not a dynamic verb. Okay. So often stative verbs are about liking, disliking something, or about a mental state, but not a physical action. I'm going to add that thing. Okay. So if we want to create this difference, the stative verbs or the state verbs are those who are normally about an opinion, liking, or a mental process, and a dynamic verb is more like a verb of those things that require a physical action. Like, for example, the word work is a verb, right? It requires some physical action. The word walk, it requires a physical action. The word exercise, it requires a physical action, etc. But for example, the word love, the word agree, the word think, but I'm gonna give you some others. The word like or dislike. These are verbs that are normally about mental processes, right? These are not physical processes, okay? So just to give you an example, there are verbs which can be used in simple forms. The word agree, for example. She didn't agree with us. Ella no estuvo de acuerdo con nosotros. La palabra agree es un stated verb porque es un mental process, ¿verdad? Agree no está hablando como caminar, ¿verdad? Que mueves tu cuerpo, ¿verdad? Entonces, agree is a mental process. En este caso, la palabra agree puede ser usada en los verbos o en los tiempos verbales simples. Simple present, simple past, present perfect simple, simple future, etc. Pero no se usa en los tiempos continuos. Por ejemplo, she wasn't agreeing with us. Esta oración en inglés no existe. She wasn't agreeing with us. Esto más pareciera que alguien está traduciendo del español o de otro idioma hacia el inglés. Porque a veces puede ser que en español esto sí cuadre, pero en inglés esto no se usa. Esa es la ciencia detrás de conocer cuál es un stative verb y cuál es un dynamic verb. ¿Ok? Hay una gran dificultad en este tema porque hay algunos verbos que están en medio. Es decir, que no son necesariamente stative verbs completamente y no son dynamic verbs completamente. Es decir, que pueden ser uno o pueden ser otro. Entonces, por eso este tema no lo tocamos antes, ¿verdad? Por ejemplo, alguien que esté en elementary y queremos enseñarle stative verbs cuando en la segunda semana de elementary 3, por ejemplo, le estamos enseñando el simple present o el present continuous, se confunde demasiado, ¿verdad? Pero ahora que nosotros ya conocemos que hay muchas más cosas que solo el simple present y solo el simple past, ¿verdad? Sino ya entendemos que el inglés es mucho más amplio. Ahora nos estamos dando cuenta por qué nunca antes nos habíamos topado con frases como I am knowing you. ¿Eh? I am knowing you no existe porque el verbo know no lo podemos usar en tiempos continuos. Es un stative verb. So that makes sense. It makes sense that I have never heard of that because it doesn't exist, because it's not applicable. En español, si decimos como, cosas como, ay, te voy conociendo. Entonces, esa es una forma en la que alguien de repente traduce del español al inglés eso, pero en inglés esa expresión no existe así. Se usa de otra forma. Podemos encontrar maneras de usarlo, pero la palabra knowing no se usa en inglés como nosotros la usaríamos en español. So that is the biggest difference that I wanted you to notice and follow me with. We can keep talking about stative verbs, and I'm going to share this material with you. But again, it's a very big topic and a bit confusing because even though I give you a list of verbs, like the one that you see on the screen, um, I can give you tons of verbs and tons of lists, but some of them are going to be in between. For example, have, see, taste, think. Estos, aunque son dative verbs, también podrían ser dynamic en algunos casos. Y por eso es que la palabra think sí lo vemos como thinking, ¿verdad? Por ejemplo, what are you thinking about? Oh, I'm thinking about this and that. So the word think es una excepción de eso, ¿verdad? ¿Es un mental process? Yes, it's a mental process. Pero cuando nosotros hablamos de think, cuando estamos dando una idea, ¿verdad? O algo que ha estado en nuestra mente, ¿verdad? Eso es un dynamic verbs. Entonces, es un poco confuso en ese sentido. Por eso no vamos a decir, memorícense esta lista. This list is going to probably help, but we are not going to be able to memorize every single case. So what I want to give you is like the general idea so we can start understanding why some things exist and once why some other things don't exist, right? So for example, I like reading detective stories. I am liking reading detective stories. So even though this sounds logical, in English, this is not a normal and correct way of speaking. Okay. I love chocolate. I'm loving chocolate. Again, this might not be the best way of expressing this, right? Even though in Spanish might sound right, in English is not the best choice. I love chocolate. It expresses it a lot better. So if you have the option, so now that you have the knowledge, you're not going to translate literally from Spanish to English certain phrases or certain expressions. So let me go back to the main lesson here and just retake the topic for a moment. Okay. So we understand that there are some verbs that are not normally used in continuous, right? Example of that, the word no. So use the simple past for completed events, not the past continuous. My birthday was great. My friends came to visit. Mi cumpleaños estuvo genial. Mis amigos vinieron a visitar. So this is a past and completed action. Si yo mezclo estas ideas, por ejemplo, my friends were coming to visit, it makes it difficult to understand because it's a completed action. Si está completada la acción, entonces es un simple past. No nos hacemos bolas, ¿verdad? Past continuous es una acción que estaba en desarrollo por un periodo corto de tiempo, una acción temporal en la que estamos haciendo un énfasis. So those are a few things that I wanted to touch base with you. Of course, I anticipated at the very beginning of the lesson that this was going to be a long topic. So we're not going to be able to finish and cover it all. I just wanted to give you some insights, the very first thoughts for you to consider. And we have several exercises that I want to do with you starting tomorrow. But today, before we leave, I want you to think about the holidays, maybe your vacation time, and I want you to help me sharing a few ideas. So I want to share my screen, but I'm going to share whiteboard. Let's see, the classic whiteboard, and I'm going to ask a couple of questions, maybe one or two questions that I want you to answer. Okay. Okay, so I have two questions. and we're going to go and maybe give you the opportunity to choose one or the other. And you're going to help me by answering the question with your real life experience. Okay, let me do it here. Okay, there we go. So let's think about the holidays. When I say holidays, I'm talking about Navidad, Año Nuevo, Dia de Reyes, so all of the last holidays that we have been experiencing in Guatemala, of course. So what was the most exciting thing you did for the holidays? Noten que estoy hablando a propósito con simple past, ¿verdad? What was the most exciting thing you did for the holidays? So this is a completed action. So something that you did, but that's over, it's completed. Entonces, en este caso, eso me da la pauta a que no voy a usar present continuous, no voy a usar past continuous, voy a hablar de una acción que completé, ¿verdad? Ah, fui a tal lado, hice tal cosa, completé tal cosa. Mention something interesting that happened in the last month, ¿ok? Y aquí es un poquito más libre, pero también habla de acciones completas. Solo en este caso, tal vez si no fue algo tan emocionante porque viajaste o algo por el estilo, menciona algo interesante que te sucedió en el último mes. No necesariamente relacionado a los holidays, ¿ok? So something interesting that happened to you last month. Maybe, I don't know, a show that you watched, a movie that you enjoyed, um, a person you met, something that you ate. So this is a very open question, but I like to hear your answer for it. And that's how we're going to say goodbye for the class today. So I'm going to call your name and I'm going to let you choose what question to answer. Okay. So you can choose question number 1 or question number 2, depending on how you feel. And you'll be able to answer that in an open way. So I'm not going to correct you or anything. I just want to listen to your experience. So I'm going to start with Carolyn. Carolyn, is there any question in particular that you would like to answer? I don't hear you, Carolyn. I know that you are unmuted, but I don't hear you back. There might be something wrong on how the microphone is routed or something. Or if you're using a headset, maybe try to unplug it.
Hi, do you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you now. Yeah,
I'm in a new computer, so I hadn't tried it before. Sorry.
no problem. That's great. So you are able to choose the question that you want to answer. What would that be?
I would like to answer the second one.
Okay.
Yeah, something that interesting that happened this month. Well, I don't know how to say it in English, but it was a caravana that we did with my class because we are seniors now.
Mm-hmm.
So the first day of school, we went on a bus that was filled with balloons. Sorry, and we were uh like doing laps around the school outside, and we had music and we danced, and also we did welcoming. I don't know how is that called, for
Mm-hmm.
the new students, and also to show that we were singers.
Interesting. And did that happen like this month or when did that happen?
Yeah. It was 10 days ago, the 10th of January.
Great. Great. Well, thank you and congratulations on your senior year then.
Thanks.
Best of luck on this very last year, and I hope you had a lot of success for
Thank you.
everything that you're trying to accomplish. You're welcome. Great. So we have the first story of things that have happened in this month. So we have the first one. I will call that, I don't know, maybe a parade. convoy, something like that. I'm not entirely sure, because I don't know what the context is or if that also happens in the United States. Might happen. I'm not familiar with it, but I'll investigate a little and then we'll see what was the best word. Let's go with the next person. Now that I have you there, Daniel, if you can go ahead and maybe just share either question one or question two, based on your preference.
I want to answer question number one.
Okay, perfect. Go ahead.
I think that the most exciting thing that I did in the holidays was just going back to my school for some things.
Was to what? I didn't get that.
Um, to buy some things about like books or notebooks.
Okay, great, great. So, did you buy anything like that you really wanted, like like an item that you really appreciate?
No,
Just general like school supplies.
yes,
Okay, perfect. Okay, so that sounds good. It's exciting. I don't know how you feel about that, but I remember that when I was school, that was one of the exciting things for me to do. Just go ahead and choosing my own notebooks and like choosing the type of materials that I was going to use, and of course use my favorite type of pen, etc. So I think that it also counts like an exciting moment for the year. Let's go with Friseida. Friseida, what about you? What is the question that you want to answer? One or two?
Number one,
Okay, go ahead.
um, I went to see movies at the cinema, play football, mat, matches, and we won first place.
Okay, perfect. What movie did you watch on the movie theater?
Like Mufasa.
Mufasa? Okay, perfect. Did you like it or not?
Yes.
You liked it. Okay, perfect. Thank you very much. Right. So we have movie theater dates and football football games. Perfect. Let's go with the next one. I have Oscar. Oscar, which answer would you like to provide? Answer for question one or answer for question two?
Number one.
Okay, go ahead.
I most exciting thing about the gift and I receive a lot of gift in Christmas and I exciting because this is my first years I get a more a day off in my job and I enjoy my family in the days off because in this year I don't go outside to the house of the state and
Hmm.
I stay with the family and I enjoy making tamales
Great.
and I'm happy for that.
How many tamales do you eat?
Oh, especially I make the masa.
Hmm.
When I finish to make the masa, and I I take a plate, and my mother-in-law, she make two different salsas,
Hmm.
and she says black and sweet. And
Hmm.
I get a plate and put the masa in the plate and put the two different salsas or recados. I don't know how
Hmm.
you say it in English.
Yeah, yeah,
And
probably sauce.
yeah, I enjoy that. And
So you make a tamal that is kind of a mix of both?
no, 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 no. I mix it. I like to mix it when I finish to make the cook
Uh-huh.
the masa, and I get the plate and put the masa and I put two different recados, dulce
Mm-hmm.
and salado. I
Mm-hmm.
love that. And when when they cook the old tamales and sweet and salados, and they serving me two different in salado and dulce.
Okay.
And it's something weird in me when they serve the salado. I put sugar in the top, and
What-
they put the lemon, but I put the sugar.
You put sugar. Okay, that
Yes,
you're the first person that I ever hear doing that on a tamal. But
I love that.
thank you for sharing. Thank you for sharing. Nice story. Good, good, good. So we have a story of tamales. Great. Let's see. Karen, what about you? Question number one or two?
Question number two.
Okay, perfect. So go ahead when you're ready.
Last month was my birthday, and I celebrate with my family and friends.
Okay, what kind of celebration? Can you mention some of the activities that you
With
did?
my friends, we go take dinner,
Hmm.
and when we finish, we go the place we go in. They have two different floors.
Hmm.
And the first one is the restaurant, Mexican restaurant, and the second floor is the you can dance, and they have a like music live. I don't
Nice.
Vamos
Sounds
a
sounds
inglés,
great.
¿verdad?
And
Solo la pared.
what about the food? What was
Mexic
the plate that you ordered? I know Mexican, but tacos or what was it?
no, I ordered chicken quesadilla
Okay, nice.
and a steak.
And a steak, of course. You can miss a steak.
Yes,
Perfect.
and the funny part was I thought they're gonna bring me like a little piece of because when it's your birthday, they give
Mm-hmm.
you something free
Mm-hmm.
and any place you go on. And I thought they're gonna give me all my friends. They say it's my birthday, and I thought they're gonna give me a little piece of cake.
Mm-hmm.
But not in that place. They give some churros.
Okay.
They have like a little plate with churros, and they have the candle, and they sing happy birthday, and you wear like
Like a
charo,
hat.
like a charo. Yeah,
Interesting. So instead of a cake, you get a churro.
churros. Yes.
Interesting.
Hmm.
Sounds delicious. I'm very hungry right now. Good job. Good job. Thank you for sharing.
Okay.
Let's see who's next on my list. I have Liz. Okay, Liz, go ahead and choose one of the questions, one or two.
Oh, two, please.
Number two. Okay, go ahead and answer when ready.
Okay. Entering the last month, I went uh, to play bowling
Mm-hmm.
with my family. And after when I finished the game, my arms hurts,
Mm,
but I have a great time with my family because my daughter is very, very happy play bowling.
great. And did you win?
Uh, yes.
Yeah. Were you the one who won the game? Because when you're playing bowling, you have like a scoreboard, right? And who is winning. So were you the winner?
The winner no was my daughter.
Oh, she was the winner. Okay, perfect. So I'm glad that she likes it. Very good. Right. So we have Luisa and Miguel. So Luisa, go ahead and choose one question.
Question number two.
Okay. Go ahead and answer whenever you're ready.
It was some rare because the first days of December, a seller that provide in the place that I work, bought two gifts, and
Hmm.
I remember that this was two televisions. I told my boss that probably I win some of them from the Christmas party.
Hmm.
And when the Christmas party of then I work, I don't know how to say, sacaron papelitos, o hicieron
Okay.
papelitos.
Okay. So it was there was like uh oh, sorteo, I forgot the word. Sorteos. Okay. It's a raffle. Rifa.
Oh
It's a
yeah,
raffle.
or raffle.
Mhm.
Um, the last gift was one of the this television. Um, I I won. I don't know
So
how to say.
you won. Yeah, you won a TV
Yeah,
then?
yes, I won a TV, and my boss only see me and told me that I hice trampa.
You cheated, huh?
Yes, but it isn't true because fue suerte.
Yeah, of course, a raffle is
Yes,
just luck, right?
yes. I think that
Interesting.
is from interesting.
Nice. And where is the TV now? In your room, in your living
Right?
room? Where
Yes,
is it?
no, in my room.
It's in your room. Okay. Well,
Yes,
congratulations on your new TV then.
thank you.
Great. Thank you for sharing. Miguel, you're the very last one. Miguel, let us know which one would you like to answer.
Question number one, please.
Okay, sure. Go ahead and start with the answer when you're ready.
Okay. I was rested for 3 weeks and I had free time for me,
Right.
even though I went with my friends and family. Mm,
Did you
mm,
travel with your
played,
family? Did you go somewhere with your family?
no, with my family, no. With my friends, yes. I went to I went to the church the first week, and the second week uh, we went the I don't know, piscinas.
Okay, well, to the pool or to the water park?
Oh, pool.
Mm-hmm.
Um, only uh,
Okay, that sounds great. That sounds great. I'm glad that you had time to relax a little bit from work, that you had time to spend time with your family, of course, and on top of that, if you had the opportunity to share with your friends and going to the pool, that sounds exciting. I'm glad that you're um, that you're again back to work. So you're working again, right? So you're not on vacations. You're back to work, right, Miguel?
what's up?
You're
Excuse me?
working now? Are you
Oh,
working now?
yes. Yeah.
Okay,
Now I am working with my uncle. The- Yes.
perfect. So you're back to normal again, back to work.
Yeah.
Okay, perfect. Thank you for sharing, and thank you all guys for sharing this. I'm glad to know a little bit more about the things that you did for the holidays or the interesting things that happened in the very last month. I'm pretty sure that we're gonna be able to keep sharing more experiences as days go by. So, first of all, congratulations on starting a new course, and I encourage you to try to give your all this 2025. You're on the right track. Many of you have made a lot of progress, but there is always a little room for improvement. So that's why we are here, right? To help each other to try to grow. And if there are things that we need to improve on this year, then we should go ahead and do it. So I wish you the best. Have some rest tonight, and I'll see you tomorrow at 7:30. Have a very good one.
Thank you, teacher.
You're very welcome. Bye-bye.
Bye.
See you tomorrow.
Have a good
See you.
night, teacher.
You too. Bye-bye.